Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Junkrat has had quite a lot of buffs recently, and there's a lot of pro players, a lot of people in the community saying, hey, Junkrat might actually be really good again. But after speaking to the godfather of Junkrat pro like Chro, he doesn't seem to think that these changes are as big as they may seem. In fact, in a sense, they're almost like a nerf. So in this video, he's going to explain exactly what he means, what he thinks are the latest changes that hit the PTR, and ultimately what this means for Trash Rat. Pro like Chro is a great guy. We've had him on the channel for a very long time, so do check him out in the description below if you are interested. But let's get started. We usually start with the first question, Chro. Why should people listen to you when it comes to talking about Junkrat?
No, it's a good question. Why should someone listen to me about Junkrat? Well, it comes from the fact that I would like to think that I'm the original Junkrat. Ever since Season 2, I've been maining him, and I've been finishing in top 500 pretty much every single season. Actually, I have, outside of Season 1, finished in top 500. And it's just not the rank that I've achieved with Junkrat. It's more of actually the protocol and the limits I set on myself in some of the seasons. So I've stuck with them through thick and thin. So even the good times with Double Mine with no fall off to the bad times, which is like Season 2 and 3 and 4, where you did self-damage, you had one concussive mine, and your ultimate took 4 seconds to cast. So I've been through thick and thin with them.
Before we go over the latest changes, can you talk about the previous ones, what they were for those that don't know, but ultimately why you didn't feel that these changes were as good as people may have originally thought?
Yeah, he's getting changed quite a bit. In the last patch that we can talk about, they added 10 extra damage to his direct hits, but at the cost of a 10% nerf to his ult. And while 10 extra damage seems good on paper, it only changed the damage threshold for a couple of heroes. So if you're 1v1ing a Reinhardt or a Winston, or a Sentry form of Bastion, these all will take one less hit, but the problem is in a normal game, you're not fighting these heroes one-on-one, let alone fighting them one-on-one when they don't have their defensive abilities up. As soon as you add in any of their abilities, even like a 1 second heal from Bastion actually puts him back in the the usual threshold of 4 shots. And you need to understand that while he did get 10 extra damage, this only increases his DPS by 16. That's without reloads. If you count reloads, then it only gets 10 damage a second more. Meaning when accounting for a reload, breaking a Ryan shield goes from 16 seconds to about 15 as it requires 2 less shots, and breaking an Orisa's shield goes down only half a second since it only requires 1 less shot. Overall, you don't get too much of an advantage for this 10% nerf. And actually, 10 damage is only an 8% increase in damage. So, flat off the top, it's a 2% nerf. But as soon as you start adding in other sources of damage, like his splash damage, concussive mine, trap, anything like that, it really feels like it's a 15% nerf at the end of the day. He does gain a bit of ult from his splash damage, and everyone knows that, and that's kind of how the hero works. So 10% nerf is actually a bigger deal than people make it out to be. And maybe for me, it's a bit of confirmation bias. In the games that I've played, I've seen that I've lost games because I could have had ult. I've lost 3 or 4 games where I had 5% left to go on my ultimate, and for the trade-off of 10 extra damage, in those games, I never felt like the 10 extra damage actually mattered. It's kind of a joke I've always had. It's like, well, if you got 1 health, you got 120 as far as Junkrat's concerned.
Are there any positives to these changes?
I will say that the one advantage 10 extra damage does give you, it allows a bit more consistency with your primary and concussive combo. Concussive mine has a really, really poor hit detection. I've knocked it off of some people's heads and it's done 30 damage. It's a bit too wonky, and adding 10 extra damage does increase this range a little bit, but that's not much to get. The other advantage is that while technically you can kill Mei, Reaper, and Doomfist with this combo now, since you'll do 250 damage exactly, all 3 of these heroes have a way of gaining health or have some damage mitigating ability to make that combo not happen. And not only that, like at lower ranks I can see it happening more often, but at higher ranks, if I'm within melee range or just out of melee range where you do this combo more often, these heroes are going to kill you 9 times out of 10. I would rather not engage a Mei, a Reaper, or a Doomfist within 10 meters if possible. They have the advantage there, and if they know I'm there, then I consider that a lost fight.
I guess now's a good time to talk about the latest PTR changes. For those that don't know, the projectile speed has gone up and the grenades bounce less before they explode. What do you think of these?
Yeah. So this latest change that happened yesterday, I was getting a lot of questions on Discord, and I was like, what's going on? And then I finally saw the patch notes. And at first I was confused. I was like, all right, so we get increased speed, and just for the record, we get Junkrat's damage, Junkrat's speed goes from 20 to 25. It is an increase of 25%, but don't allow that number to scare you. It's still 30% slower than Pharah's rockets, and still the slowest projectile in the game by far. The trade-off is that you only get one ricochet now, so after your second bounce, specifically it's a bounce off a ground. So if you can double ricochet off a wall and it won't explode, but if it ricochets off the wall and then hits the ground once, it'll explode immediately after contact with the ground. So essentially you get, technically it's 2 bounces, but it'll be 1 bounce and then it hits the ground and explodes. And what this does is give you a significant amount of accuracy to your explosions. There seems to be 2 extreme reactions to this type of change. One of them is that people that don't play Junkrat, they act like he's changed a lot, and mainly he takes a lot more skill now, but the truth is his shots did require some degree of skill. I don't see that changing too much, but in the other extreme, a lot of Junkrat mains are saying that the hero's dead, there's no reason to play him, and they need to revert this change immediately. The truth is, while it does buff him overall, it does come with some drawbacks. For that, we need to talk about how Junkrat does area denial. It's not just about damage, because if it was just about damage, we could talk about McCree or Widow or Hanzo and how all these heroes deny area. And while they do, it's just not in the respect that Junkrat does it. When you add in Junkrat, you add in the concept of time with area denial. So it's not just damage, it's just about how that damage is taking place over a period of time. So a slow projectile is going to stay in the air for a longer period of time. This means that the speed buff alone that you got from this reduces that area denial. And then you add in the fact that he doesn't get a 3rd or 4th ricochet. This will add seconds to a grenade's lifespan, so again, that's getting chopped away as well. So when we start looking at Junkrat's ability to deny area, it's been slashed pretty hard in terms of time. And while a lot of Junkrats, they have a lot of complaints about this, and they say like his uniqueness is gone and everything they work for is gone. And I don't want to say that it is or it isn't, and you did need to know some maps pretty intimately, because any prop, like a window cell or a piece of rubble, will completely change how a grenade bounces. I kind of joke that no one knows that the Volskaya seats are rounded at the edge. And that's actually how I get a higher degree of control in specific rooms on Volskaya, is that I will be banking it off of specific parts of the chairs or, you know, stuff like that. And actually any type of rounded surface does give you a great deal of accuracy with Junkrat. I can pretty much put it at wherever in the room that I want to if there's a chair like that. And it's this type of intimacy with the map that I think people are like, well, this skill I've gained after 3 years is now useless. What we've lost at the expense of time, we've gained an accuracy both in the concept of time and space. If I know where my ricochet is going to land, I can more or less make it immediately explode there like a Pharah rocket. This is great because I can easily pick where the grenade will blow up. So if you're going to go through a choke point, I can either put the grenade right in the middle of there after a bounce, and it will blow up in that choke point. Or if you're rotating or the team is moving, I can pick when it's going to blow up. So no longer will some people just walk by a grenade. It's now going to hit the ground where I want it to and explode, doing a bit of splash damage. Now this helps out at all ranks. Just like a knight, the ricochets are still going to move like in a non-normal pattern. It's not just going to be straight up, down, left, or right. So if a lot of Junkrat mains, I'm trying to like push them to think of it in a different manner, because once you change your mindset, I think you'll come around, you'll see the advantages of the new change and the disadvantages of the old change and stuff like that. I think we can just progress moving forward with this. And overall, it just makes sense with how Overwatch has been moving. If you look at the Torb, Reaper, or Symmetra changes, with Torb and Reaper, basically the health orb system, if anyone remembers that from a long time ago, or the armor scrap system before Torb got reworked. What was happening is that it just takes too damn long to get these things to pay off. Like, if you have to kill someone and get an advantage from it, think about that in regards to ghosts. Like, it's hard. Once one person dies, the push is pretty much over, or the one team is lost. And so I think what's happening is that the developers have noticed that Overwatch is progressing at an incredible rate. The games happen quicker than they ever thought possible. And because of this, a lot of heroes are getting their abilities shored up, where they're getting front-loaded in respects of time, and that's exactly what happened to Junkrat. And what we're going to be getting now is, like, our area denial is front-loaded. I'm going to shoot an area, and it's going to blow up right then and right there, which is great because, I mean, if they got a Lucio speed boosting you down, you don't have the time or the space to actually let this happen, like let a roller go by them. You need this ability to detonate immediately.
So in the grand scheme of things, what is going to happen to Junkrat now? We have a whole meta sort of shifted towards bunker comps. I did wonder sort of where Junkrat's place was in all of this, and if he is actually going to be like god tier now. From the sounds of it, not so much.
As for where Junkrat's going to go, I'm not fully sure from here. I think the meta is up in the air. I know the meta is up in the air. No one can really predict what's going to happen once Baptiste goes live. I think there's going to be a lot of crazy things that go on. It's not predictable at this point in time. I can say, though, with the speed increase, it allows Junkrat to respond to more threats, and overall just makes him a better jungle hero, which is what we need. I think Overwatch is moving away from any type of counter or concept of counter. So for that to happen, Junkrat needs the ability to react to more or less all heroes. And 25% bonus speed. From playing on the PTR for one night, I can tell you that my air shots got consistently higher. That my air shot accuracy got consistently higher. In fact, on the night, my accuracy was up 8%, so I can respond to pretty much any threat now.
Before we finish, are there any other sort of key things that you wanted to note that we haven't spoke about or gone over just yet?
I think once everyone gets used to it, though, I think we'll be in a better place. And more importantly, I think the community will be in a better place with them. They'll respect Junkrat a little bit more. And right now, Junkrat's kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes to respect, so that's a great thing. Jeff was right when he said, when it comes to balance, perception's, pretty much everything. And it is. And so once the perception of Junkrat changes a little bit, maybe we'll see some changes down the road. But for right now, with these changes, I think it puts Junkrat in a good spot. And that's all we can ask for when encountering this unknown meta.
And finally, where can people find more from you talking about Junkrat? And also looking a little bit into the pro scene, no doubt.
You can find me at twitch.tv/ProLikeChro and on YouTube/ProLikeChro. Thanks for having me, man.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. You can check out Pro Like Chro in the description below if you want to see more. Is there any other heroes that you'd like to hear about? Any Reaper players that you think we should talk to, for example? Do let me know in the comments below. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.